Reddit fresh.
Am I the idiot for asking my brother and his girlfriend to get a hotel? My older brother and his girlfriend were planning to come visit me for several days. I was pretty excited and he was too. We talked on the phone for a bit about plans and such. Let me preface by saying we were both raised in a rather traditional, old-fashioned family. My brother broke out of the traditions and adopted a less strict lifestyle. Me, on the other hand, I still adhere to some of those traditions. When it came to sleeping arrangements, I told my brother that he could have my room, and his girlfriend would get the guest room and I would sleep on the pull-out couch. My brother laughed and said he wouldn't want to put me out of bed, and said he'd share the guest room with his girlfriend. I told him that I really wasn't comfortable with that, because I believe that an unmarried couple shouldn't share a bed. He told me it's a different time and a different era. I told him I was still uncomfortable. Things got pretty heated, and then I told him if he wants to share a room with his girlfriend, he's going to have to do so at a hotel, because he knows what I believe and how I feel. He hung up on me. Several hours later, after I'd cooled down, I called my brother to apologize for getting upset, but he told me that he's considering canceling the trip altogether because he feels like I'm forcing my beliefs on him and his girlfriend. Am I the idiot? You're going to probably see a lot of your house. Your rules type not the votes. They are correct. You can do whatever you want with your house, absolutely. But you can be technically correct and still be an Which is the case here. You're the idiot. You're the idiot. They share a bed outside of your house. This is your brother. Do you have young kids in the house? Either way, they're adults. Is it really that big of a deal? I'm sure there are things you do that are hypocritical. If this were like a 90-year-old grandmother's house, I'd understand, but a brother around the same age? No idiots here. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for calling out a woman at the brewery? My husband and I meet with a group of friends, 8 people total, every Friday. We choose a brewery and meet there for a couple of beers and play games, Cards Against Humanity, Uno, Trivial Pursuit. Just a fun night with friends, and an all-around good time. We are all in our 30s and 40s. Some of us have small kids, others, like us, are empty nesters. It's an adult-only thing, so the friends in the group that have small kids get babysitters so that we can have adult time. We went to the brewery last week. It's about an hour and a half drive for 4 out of the 8 of us that we have wanted to try for almost a year. My husband and I got there first and found a large picnic-style table that was close to the bar while we waited for our group to get there. It was basically two large picnic tables side by side, and you could easily fit our group on one table and another large group on the other. While we were waiting, a woman approached us and asked if she and her group could take the other side of the table. We told her yes, and she signaled for her friend's partner. He came to the table and he had an infant carrier and was holding the hand of a toddler. I immediately looked at my husband and said it would have been nice of her to mention that they had kids with them. A few minutes after they sat down, the rest of their group, 6 people in total, came to the table and each of them had kids with them. One of the kids, who was about 2 to 3 years old, was screaming to be put down and immediately started running when they did. I was pretty upset and told the woman that it was really not cool of her to not even mention that their entire group had small children and that there were plenty of other tables that would have accommodated them in the taproom. They ended up moving tables, but not after the friend/partner of the first woman said it was not cool of me to make them move tables. My husband said that I was out of line, and when we told this to our friends, they were split, with half of them agreeing that it was not okay for them to not say anything about the kids, and the others saying that there is no rule against having kids in the taproom, so I should have just let it go. So am I the idiot for calling out a woman at the brewery? Not the idiot, but I am biased from bar work. Children do not belong in those settings. I know I'm likely to get downvoted too, but nobody needs to worry about other people's children when they are out having adult beverages. Not the idiot. Kids don't belong at breweries. The only reason some breweries allow kids is because of greed, not because it's ever acceptable for a child to be at a brewery. Parents need to stop pretending that the entire world is kid-friendly. It isn't, nor should it be. Kids don't belong everywhere. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for making my child choose a different cake? My female 23 son, Jackson, recently turned 5. We had a small party with some of his friends from daycare, my parents, and my boyfriend's family. Since he's been old enough to make a lot of his own decisions the past year, I've let him choose what he wants for his birthday. This year, Jackson said that he wanted a chocolate birthday cake with blueberries in the middle and worms on top. I wasn't super sure about this combination of things, so I told him that, while I know he likes it, his party guests probably wouldn't enjoy chocolate and blueberries, and asked him to pick a different flavor. I suggested Oreos or raspberries instead of blueberries, and he said he wanted to think about it. After a while, he came back with a completely different cake idea, coconut strawberry Lilo and Stitch cake, and asked if we could have it instead. I approved his new idea, so we got it ordered. At the party, I was approached by my boyfriend's parents and accused of forcing interests on my child. I asked what they were on about, and they said that Jackson had told them about the cake situation. I was confused as Jackson had been super excited about his cake. I talked to him after the party, and he said that he originally wanted the worm cake but loves his Lilo and Stitch cake. I still feel like a bad mom for telling him to pick a different cake. Am I the idiot? Edit, because there seems to be confusion. I did not choose his coconut cake. I did not eat the cake because I do not like coconut. My son loves coconut, which is why he chose it. I did not tell him that he couldn't have a worm cake. He chose a different cake design on his own. We could not have multiple cakes due to not having the budget for it. I offered to make the cakes instead, but he wanted it from the bakery we got my boyfriend's birthday cake from, so that's where we got it from. Edit 2 info. My boyfriend is not related to my son in any way. His parents are not my son's grandparents. My son's father is double my age and hasn't been in the picture since I was 17, before he was born. The blueberry filling at the bakery we went to is very sweet and artificial tasting jam. My son hasn't had the filling, but I have and know from similar things that he wouldn't really enjoy it. Yes. My son really is 5. Yes. He does actually like Lilo and Stitch. No. Chocolate and blueberries are not a combo you usually see where we live. Yes. Chocolate-covered fresh blueberries are his favorite snack. No. I am not punishing him for wanting worms on his cake. I appreciate the worms. I have no issue with the worms. Not the idiot. I think what people are forgetting is that the kid is 5. I live with a soon-to-be 5-year-old. I think it's a great idea to let him have a choice, but you as the mom knew that combination wouldn't be that popular. Your kid might not have liked it. Teaching him to be considerate with his choices is a good lesson. He still ultimately made the choice. I'll oftentimes give my nephew a choice, but it's usually between a couple things, because if you're too broad, you gotta figure out how to make farts for dinner. Not the idiot. You asked your son to not just think of what he wanted, but also to think of the guests that he was hosting. That is a great lesson to teach, and he did it well. He got a cake everyone, but you, liked. Apparently consideration for others is not a lesson Reddit enjoys. Your boyfriend's parents are assholes for suggesting a boy can't like Lilo and Stitch. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for eating sardines for lunch every day at work? I'm 31 years old and morbidly obese, 6 feet 0 inches and 315 pounds at my highest, and I have several health problems as a result. Hypertension, on 3 medications, all max dose, GERD, on a medication, sleep apnea, use CPAP every night, erectile dysfunction, which arguably sucks more than anything else. Last time I had routine blood work was over a year ago, and my cholesterol was above normal but not high enough to need medication. My blood sugar was okay, thank God, but I'm due for more blood work soon, so hopefully that's still the case. Anyway, I've been trying to eat healthier, and after a lot of trial and error, I've settled on the following lunch: 1 can of sardines, 2 soft-boiled eggs, marinated in soy sauce, mirin, and sake, also known as ajitsuk tamago, 3 0.75 ounce pieces of Cabot seriously sharp cheddar cheese, 20 grape tomatoes, 3 mini cucumbers, sliced and seasoned with tagine, 20 black grapes. This lunch has struck the perfect balance of 1. Relatively cheap. The cheese is more expensive than I'd like, but everything else is reasonable. 2. Relatively easy/fast to prepare. The eggs can be a pain to peel and have to be marinated for 24 hours, but everything else can be prepared pretty quickly in the morning. 3. Tasty. I legitimately enjoy eating all 6 of these foods and haven't gotten tired of them yet. And 4. Healthy. It's a very nutritious, balanced mix of foods. I've been doing this for a few weeks and have lost about 10 pounds. The problem is that some of my coworkers disliked the smell of the sardines in the break room. Today, one of them finally confronted me about it and said that I need to stop eating those around other people. I said that sardines are a normal food and that I have just as much of a right to eat my lunch in the break room as anyone else. She said that if I bring them again next week, then she's going to file a formal complaint with my boss. Honestly, I'm not willing to give up my sardines, nor do I feel like I should have to. They're a bonfire wonder food. In addition to being a strong source of healthy protein and omega-3s, they're also a wonderful source of vitamins and minerals, including things that can be lacking in other foods like calcium and vitamin D. And since they're at the bottom of the food chain, you can eat them every day without having to worry about mercury poisoning like with tuna. And they taste great to boot. So my question is, am I the idiot if I ignore her demands and continue to eat sardines in the break room? P.S. Some people might ask why I don't just go to my car to eat. I would actually prefer that option even if this whole fiasco hadn't occurred, because I'm very introverted, but unfortunately our building and parking lot are both massive, so I'd end up spending half of my break walking back and forth and wouldn't have time to eat, especially since I like to savor my food. And on top of that, the summer is coming up, and I'm not keen on going outside because I sweat profusely at my weight. You're the idiot. As much as I love sardines, it stinks. I always ask those at work if they would be bothered by it before eating it around them. It's inconsiderate to eat such a strong stinky food around others without them being okay with it, and that stench lingers. If they complain about it to the boss, they wouldn't be surprised if the boss took the other coworker's side. Congratulations on your weight loss. Find a way to continue your healthier eating without grossing others out. Sardines are wonderful, they're missing out. No idiots here. I honestly think there's a level of general respect that goes into not bringing too strong smelling food in common areas. Like, no surströmming or durian. I think sardines are really on the fringes, so it's hard to judge. One thing I noticed is that a lot of people freaking hate sardines and think they're disgusting, while having no issue with tuna cans, which I think smell just as much. There's probably ways to make the smell less noticeable, like putting them into a separate tray from the cans before work. I feel like the moment of opening the cans emits most smell. Now, for the next story. Am I the idiot for making my sister cancel her trip? My female 27, younger sister, 22, will be graduating soon, and my family is giving her a trip to Japan later in the year. She was thrilled when we told her and happily helped with planning and budgeting for her 2-week stay. It took a lot of bargaining on her end, but we agreed to let her travel alone on the condition that she checks in with me regularly. I live in Tokyo for work. She reluctantly agreed. In secret, I told her that she doesn't need to tell her every move because she's an adult and doesn't need a babysitter. I really just needed to know that she was alive and not in jail or something. She was much happier with the arrangement after that. Eventually, the subject of lodgings came up, and our dad, 54, wasn't all that happy with her choices. They were either too expensive, too shady, or too far. Why this was an argument, TBH. She's traveling. He asked if she could stay with me for the trip. Whatever she saved on lodgings, she could use as additional spending money, he said. She wouldn't have to worry about food or strict check-in/out times neither. I agreed that it was an option, but told him that I'd talk it over with my sister first. While I knew that she'd love to have more money to spend on merch or clothes, she probably also wanted a trip without any of her family breathing down her neck. When I talked to my sister, though, she was furious. I tried explaining myself, but she wasn't happy, understatement, that I was messing with her plans. She'd already booked her hotels/B&Bs, and now she had to jump through hoops to cancel and refund everything. My apartment was too cramped and too far from where she wanted to go. She'd be wasting her supposed savings on traveling. My apartment is a little tight for 2 people, yes, but we could probably manage. Still, I saw her point. So I said that she didn't want to stay with me. I would be glad to help her find arrangements when she arrived and keep it a secret. But then she blew up, said she had enough, and yelled that there was no point in her going if people kept messing with what she wanted to do. My parents called the next day to say that her trip was canceled. She didn't want to go anymore, and no amount of convincing or itinerary changes would change that. I feel awful because she'd been looking forward to coming here for years. I wish that I'd helped her push to stay where she wanted instead of making it seem like I agreed with my dad. Her lodgings probably weren't the only things they argued with her about, but me interfering was probably the last straw. I've tried calling her, but she won't pick up my calls. Our brother says to leave it. Her mom has been cycling being mad at her, my dad, or me, and my dad says she'll get over it eventually and was being a brat. I'm fully aware that there was some bratty behavior from her here, but I know I'd be angry too if people ruined a trip I was looking forward to. Edit one more info. I moved to Japan last year. I didn't go through the same conditions when I moved, but that was because I was already making my own money. My family is weirdly anal about people only having some form of freedom when they can afford to pay for things themselves. Another thing that I didn't mention because I forgot that most people in this hell site are from a first world country, but for someone from our country to travel to a foreign country, we have to jump through hoops and show embassies that we're financially capable of staying. We have to present full itineraries, bank statements, fund sources, etc. And when you're a student, you're unlikely to be approved for a visa without your family backing you. So all of us had to go through these dumb regulations by our dad when we got our graduation trips. It's frustrating and unfair, but it's the best we could work with. Edit 2. I would really appreciate it if you all kept the discussion in this thread instead of sending me DMs. I can see your resounding verdict in the comments already. Everyone sucks here except your sister. All she wanted was her fun trip, which got royally screwed with everyone chipping in. Let her do whatever she wants with you on emergency contact if anything does require some assistance. I can see why she no longer wants to go on a trip where everyone else who is not going wants to give an opinion on where she should stay and what she should do. At 22, she's an adult and it's time to let the little birdie fly. People travel by themselves at 16. You're the idiot. Not necessarily you, but your parents. She's 22, she doesn't have to explain to anyone where she's traveling and where she's staying. Of course, if your parents are footing the bill, they are allowed to set a budget, but she should be free to spend that budget how she wants. They should tell her how much they are giving her as a gift, and then she can decide what she books and whether she supplements with her own money.